Derek, 13 Serious Engineering, and today we're going to talk about everybody's favorite thing, testing. Just kidding, we're not talking about that. No, we are talking about testing, but I know it's not everybody's favorite thing. Um, Testing is actually super easy and super fun once you get the hang of it. And I think there's a lot of different methodologies or things that I think that are incorrect going on. One of them is I think I saw this in a Symfony doc someplace, but I don't remember, where it's talking about using data fixtures for your tests. And I think that that's basically just wrong to use a fixture that either you are using for local dev or you have your own like test database that gets set up. I've seen that as well. You know, new database gets made, migrations get ran, fixtures get loaded, then we're testing against that data. And that's wrong because first off, it's very slow, so there's a huge performance impact not having your tests solely be in memory. And also, there's every time you try to test a new condition, you usually have to modify the fixture. You have to add something. You might need to add a fixture that fits the bad data case that you're talking about. And so it just makes the dev process a lot longer. So in my opinion, fixtures are great. They're a great thing. Factories are great too. Zen Factory is awesome. They're great for populating your local dev environment with data you need to do dev. They're great for populating a QA or staging environment as well. But as far as using them to run tests against, I think it's inefficient and a headache and also incorrect. And when you are using your fixtures and the tests are getting ran against them, what you have is you have an entire for in this example with an API, that gives you an end-to-end test or application test. So you're testing basically your entire setup from endpoint to database and then all the way back out. But that's not what we're going to do. I fully believe in doing like an integration or endpoint test, but having a mocked repository. You know, we are going to be separate from the database. We're testing whatever's going to happen in the services and in the controllers and whatever other classes we might use. But we're not going to hit the repository until we do repository test. So that's the two type of tests there. Integration tests, you know, we hit an endpoint, it gets this entity, which is all mocked, and then also a repository test that's like, hey, okay, we want to make sure that our repository save function will actually persist something to the database without an error. So that, you know, that's your two things. You have one that's totally just testing the database, and one that's totally everything but the database. So we have to do some mocking. We have to abstract some stuff, and we have to install PHP unit and one of my favorite testing libraries, which is Faker, which is an awesome way to mock and fake things in PHP. Now you will notice if you just Google Faker PHP, they have this awesome ORM integration, and I've actually tried this before, but unfortunately for Doctrine, it's just Doctrine 2, so that's not going to work for us. If you are using Doctrine 2, you can go and use this, but luckily Symfony provides a lot of stuff that that kind of fills in the gaps for this. So um, we're going to go through all that integration test, repository test today, and then if you're only using Doctrine, you're not doing a custom CQRS thing, basically this is all you need. This will get you 100% code coverage. It will test all the edge cases that you're looking for and everything. But for us, doing some CQRS stuff with patch or put or whatnot, we're going to do another video that kind of goes over this thing right here, mocking dependencies. That's really what we're focused on today. And we in the next video, we might need to recreate this in a custom way, recreate our repositories without using the Symfony create mock, so that way we can actually assert that something was supposed to happen that did happen. But anyways, got to install Symfony test stuff, and we're going to install Faker. And the one thing we are going to have to modify in let's see. I don't think I was messing with this stuff earlier and then I cleared it out. I don't think I actually got, this did not install. Oh, should probably delete my lock file. All right, because it's in. Still not getting a test directory, which this should be all you have to do. But yeah, I had tried to reset my branch so that way we could go through everything. Okay, finally got it resolved. I had to delete some stuff from the Symfony lock file, and I think there's a dependency I forgot to get rid of. But anyways, let me make my font a little bigger here. There we go. What's that, 20? Yeah, I think that's good. So, okay, we got Symfony PHP unit installed and working, and the first thing I usually like to do once I have this installed is go to scripts and add test. You can call it whatever you want. And then that's going to take just the PHP unit binary command. So now all we have to do is do composer test and it runs. Same thing with like PHP stan or something else like that. It's just so you can, use your like own custom scripts. Pretty fun. Cool. Okay, so everything's set up. I think we just need to install Faker and we should be good to go. Now, one modification we do need to make is to our planet entity. Because we're faking this, the issue we have is that UUID is a generated column by the database. So this is like a Postgres function, generate UUID v1, or it's in DQL or whatever it is, but this is generated, so uh, we won't get an ID until we actually our entities persisted to the database. Well, that's not going to work for testing because we're not persisting anything to the database. So we need to set this on our own. So we're going to clear this out, and we could either have a function to set ID. We're going to make this not null anymore either. It's always got to have a value. And then we're going to add a constructor. Because I think this is the best way to do it, which is automatically do this. We might have an issue when we're querying this though. If we just always set the ID to a generated one, we won't get the right thing. When it comes back out, it needs to get hydrated, not in the constructor. We'll just do set. And we will make it nullable. God, I hate that, but it's okay. I also don't like how Doctrine does like this. I'd rather have it be like UUID or null, but question mark's cool, I guess. We'll do set ID and return static. There we go. And I think we're just gonna do v1. Why isn't it like that? It's definitely in there. Public function v1. That's very strange. I do think I have some auto loading issues with this project. I'm not exactly sure why. Also, if you have not got PHP Storm 2024.1, highly recommended. It's like a free update and it has this awesome, code new line complete. It's pretty sweet for sure. Um, but anyways, we have to make sure that we always set this every time now. And so that's something, in our controller that we're going to have to change when we go in, uh, create planet. And we might want to set this to we might want to pass in a UUID for this and set it to, because maybe we want like a v4 UUID that's like a key value pair. So we want to be able to support that in some way. So it could be like, found it there. It didn't find it. It didn't find it in the, it didn't get found in the entity. Definitely an auto loading issue someplace, but either way, you could do like v4, and if you're not familiar with v4, it's gonna take arguments. Or it'll auto. That's weird. It should take arguments. Um, it's v4 that it's a composite key, but here they're saying v3 or v5. Maybe it's v5, and I'm wrong about that. So like v5, you would do like, what's the namespace? Like planets, and then you give it, maybe you give it like the, you know, system, we pass a system in and we do like system ID and that like something like that uh, is basically like, I have that like wrong, I think. I have to encode both of them. Either way, um, it's a cool way to like make a composite UUID, and that's the brilliance of UUIDs is you get to have like custom composite keys all over the place. But getting a little off the rails here. Anyways, tests. First thing I'm gonna do is, so we got Faker installed. Um, we need a fake data, and we're gonna test our planet controller. So I'm gonna do, uh, I don't know, what should we call this? Like endpoint tests or something. I don't like just calling it integration because that can be confusing. Just call it endpoint and then planet endpoint. And then we're gonna have for all the planet endpoint, tests, we're just gonna have it called planet test extends web test case. And now we're gonna make some attributes. So we need some traits to do all this stuff. I'm just gonna call this mock, I guess. Why not? Can't think of a better name. We're gonna have can fake data trait, and we're going to have can mock planet trait. Now in can fake data, man, I love that new code complete. That's super cool. In can fake data, we're just going to use PHP Faker, which we just installed. So we're going to do this. We're going to do public function faker, and that's going to return, we're going to do this faker factory create, and we're going to do unique. Well, I can't type. This one. And this returns an instance of generator, but we need a unique generator. So we're going to add unique. And this is going to make sure that we get unique values. Also, this is an awesome way to avoid a constructor, is that if this isn't constructed, then we just create it. So super easy. That's all we need for can fake data. And then now we need to mock a planet. Can fake data. And so just a simple function, mock planet. This is just going to make it in memory. And the other thing we're going to need is we're going to need relationships we're going to be testing. So obviously in our controller, we have, we're using get with system from the planet service to get the planet with the related system. So that's what we're going to do. Oh, I'm doing this in the entirely wrong place. So we also need the system. Maybe we should do like create, because I think create planet, create system. Obviously return to system. So then we'll just be like new system, set name, this faker name. And this is going to be like name in fake. We might want to use slug instead. Name in faker is like someone from the 1800s, like the Victorian period's name, like Petunia Wellington or something like that. That's basically what that is. What else do we have on system? We have, I think it's, yeah, just name and ID. That's it. Cool. Okay. System itself, though, we don't really care what the, well, I guess we probably do want to set the ID on this also. We're going to need to get rid of this, the ID stuff, every place in order for this to work correctly, or at least how we want it to. Set ID, yep. Now, obviously this is bad because it gives you the control to change the ID when you're updating something, but we're not using the entity to even update it. So it doesn't really matter. It also, this introduces a bug though, because you could forget to set ID, persist it, and then you'll get that this, UUID cannot be null in the database, which it can't. So we could leave the auto-generated stuff, but it's kind of a waste. There might be like a wrapper or something we'd want to add that checks if the ID is null. We don't necessarily want to do it in the constructor, but maybe that would just be better. Instead of being able to set it, it's just setting the UUID in the constructor. Either way, that's fine for now. Think about that for later. We got to make our planet. Set ID, we need except we don't want the toString or v4. No, just need the UUID. No, it's just v1. I don't know why it was pulling something else for that. We need the same thing here. Cool. Okay. What else? Planet, set name, and okay, wow, I can't type. Also, the alternative to just generating this ID is to use Faker for it, but it's not really, it's not going to do anything different really. But just for fun, we can do it. UUID. It's like, that's going to be a string though. So yeah, if we're taking a string instead of just the UUID argument, you could do that. Or you could create it from the string or whatever, a bunch of different stuff. We got name, we need to set mass. And for us, mass is a string. So we're going to use Faker to get, yeah, random float, but of course that's not going to work. So just cast it to a string, which is fine. Set description. Sure, text or sentence. I think maybe we do want to go with sentence. It's just going to be Latin, lorem ipsum. But that's fine. Okay, so in mock planets, we can get a planet, we can get a system. So planet, no, just that. Planet equals new planet. No, not new planet. Mock planet, and then we need to set the, all right. Code complete needs a little work here and there. I don't think it's actually AI. IntelliJ did come out with the AI Copilot thing recently. I haven't tried it. I don't think this is anything related to it. I think it's different, is what it seems like just based on how it's working. Okay, now we're going to do. We just need these ones. We don't need the bottom line. And what we're doing here is basically, I need kernel test case. Well, I don't actually need that. I think this will autocomplete in a minute because, or we just need to add it to some place that can mock planet. There we go. Okay. So the new IntelliJ like traits and stuff is pretty cool. PHP stand gives you a hard time using a trait because it's like this is, doesn't it's not extending kernel or web test case, but then you use it someplace that it is. I think that's probably a future PHP version thing they need to iron out is traits being like attached or locked down to a class where you're expecting, I know there's a PHP CS comment that like you can add that's like expect, using web test case or something like that. But anyways, we're not using any repository interfaces, just the regular one. So we just do planet repository. And now what this is doing is it's creating basically a mock class, like a template class. It's taking the service container and it's injecting that that class into it. So when you call, when the repository gets hit, it's not going to even initialize the repository. It's going to, I guess technically they're already like initialized. What it's going to do is, depending on the function you call it with, it's just going to spit back out instantly what you tell it to, which will be an object or array or whatever. So for us, the method we're hitting in the repository is get with system. So when get with system gets hit, it returns this planet that we've mocked in memory, and it skips the repository in the database completely. And the way that works is we can do this ourselves, and we'll probably do it like this next time. But if you go to Symfony service container, and we might actually have to go to the definitions part. I don't remember where it is, but injecting services. No, there is basically an ID. Each service has an ID to it, and it's like app dot something, usually. Depends on the namespace. And you can replace that service with a different class. And that's essentially what this is doing. Let's see, service definition objects. So this is with definitions, but it's kind of the example of it. This is a service config manager. And so you can see with a container, we're basically we're re-registering the ID with a new class, which is this faked class that we have created. And this is returning a mock object that's already initialized. It's not returning planet repository. It's just returning a mock object that has a name attribute with planet class, and it maps that to the ID, and it gives it the new initialized object. If that makes sense. So basically you could think of it like we're going into the service container, we're intercepting planet repository just this one time, and we're intercepting this function. And so when the request gets routed and it hits the service container and it hits that method, get with system, and then it's going to hit this planet repository with system ID, but it already has saved in memory that it's going to, when that gets hit one time, get with system, it's going to just spit back out this planet we made, and that's it. And it's not ever going to touch the repository. So that's basically, that's recursion right there. That would have been bad. That's an infinite loop. Just made an infinite loop. Cool. That's basically how that's working, is where you're modifying your container to do this. And it's really easy that they just provide all this stuff for you. You know, again, to do this on your own in a custom way is really not that hard. You basically, just like that this documentation said, you know, we're going to just add something to the container, and it's going to be a mocked repository. In that repository, it's basically just going to have arrays in it. Each function will be a representation of an array, and it will spit out whatever object we add to it. So that's like the custom way to do this, but same thing. Anyways, all we got to do now is write our test. So let's see. Test planet can be created. I just want to test planet test can be got. Sure, that's fine. That's annoying. We'll just do test get planet, because that's what we're gonna do. Test get planet. Planet equals this mock planet. Now, Symfony, this test docs anyways, are really set up for like checking markup and everything. Like using the crawler to CSS or you know, query selector nodes and make sure they're there and all that stuff. But it's cool it knows that. Planets. But for us, wow, I can't talk and type at the same time. You see where I'm going with this. Okay, with crawler, we basically just need to change like one thing, and we can then, there we go. We need to check the JSON structure and compare it to what should be there. I was going to show you in the docs where it does that. I think we want to go like, we actually don't want the crawler. There we go. Helps us out with that. I don't want associative, but now we can test our assert equals will be like response planet name is the same as planet get name. Why is that so unhappy? Void method. I don't think it is used anyplace. Man, my auto loading stuff is getting weird. But that's fine. That works. Now let's test it. Oh, mock planet not found. That's not good. Seems like it's found. Namespace mock, blah, blah, blah. Why is this not found? Wondering if we're having some issues with auto loading, which I think we are. That's not what we want. We want test added to that. That's probably our issue. It looked like it was auto-loaded before. I think that's our problem though. Okay. I fixed it. Here the issue was incorrect namespace, but that was happening because I was missing this in Composer JSON. I was missing auto-loading the test namespace. So that was the problem, and I had to do a Composer install to get it to work. Another thing that happens is that when you do mock planet, when you do this create mock, it does a kernel boot. And web test case does that as well when you create client. So create client has to always come first, basically. But now, boom, there you go. We can do the same thing. And now it's just super easy. We're not hitting the database at all, but we are testing and getting all of our code coverage and everything, and making sure our service is working, making sure our endpoints are working, all this stuff. So if we change this to post, and then we need to add body or content. Um, what do we pass it? Our DTO. Name and yikes. Name and mass. Get name, or we could just, the other thing we're probably going to want to do is have this support taking like an array of data. So you could pass it, we're gonna fake this name and then make sure the name is the same thing when it comes back out. Because if you remember, creating a planet isn't really CQRS for us. It does return the planet that's created because you still only get one database query with that. It just returns, or it doesn't return anything. It's just the planet made in memory gets saved and we still have it, so we can return it. We're also going to need to add something other than get with system. We need to add a method for post. So we need to have arguments here like data and repository function and all that stuff. But I think that's a little out of the scope of this video. This stuff, does work. It's a super easy thing to do, and the point is that you to just make tests. This is basically it. You just go and test all your endpoints, and then we're also going to add tests for like obviously there's no auth on here yet, but like test is unauthorized or test doesn't have permission, or test that 404 gets returned if the planet is not found, and that all the error handling happens and all this stuff. But super super easy to do, and we just set everything up with this. This is our database now essentially. We just need to do some things to like round it out, but that's a great way to just pull all that stuff out, keep it in the controller service level, and we're also asserting that the repository returns the right thing and it gets handled correctly. And then we'd have like another directory um, called database and planet, and then we'll have like planet repository test. And that's basically, and then this just says like test can save planet, and then we are going to need a setup. You would use a setup for this function. Setup. Right, that's weird. Um, and I think we can use auto wiring here, or we could just make a new one. Doesn't matter. Right, yeah, we want to auto wire this. I knew that. Where we need a constructor. I think we just need to do. Dude, yikes. You know what? We probably just want to get the actual, yeah, I think this is what we want. Cool. Okay. And then we want to actually like create the planet. And of course we could just, we should have that in a trait to create planet or something so it can be a little more, you know, less repetitive. We obviously we have a duplicate code fragment here, which isn't great, but trying to keep this video shorter. Save planet, okay, and then we want to make sure that the planet's actually in the database, so um, now I know this might seem a little kind of redundant, but that is, I mean, that's exactly the thing. This is too easy. Um, this is a repository test. We're testing all the repository functions work, that the planet's saved and that it's found. Um, and we got some issues. Wow, that's so annoying. Huh. No route found for post planets. Well, we definitely have that. Um, maybe because there's a bad body structure. Anyways, not working with this right now. But there you go. The repository test works. But that's basically all you do. Can save planet, can query planet by criteria, can update planet, all that stuff. So you test the repository, and that's your two tests. It's pretty easy. We just see a lot of times people using fixtures or other things and making it super, super complicated and super slow running tests. And as a developer, that's so annoying. So this is definitely like the preferred way to do things, and it's just too easy with what Symfony gets you. I mean, we can go from here. You can write all your unit tests out really, really quickly and set everything up with code coverage, which maybe we'll take a look at that in PHP Stand next time as well. But that's all I got for now. I hope everyone has a great week.